Those of you that have cell phones, would you please put them on silent? Can we all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we have the minutes of the October 14th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as mailed?
Move it.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We have the discussion and approval of the claims.
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Human Resources, I will pass around the memorandum of personnel transactions.
And move it.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. We have, next item is receiving of the county recorder's report of fees and collections.
Move it.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, communications, Mr. Shedden.
Hi. We have two amendments in front of you today. The first amendment is to a Starcom tower lease, would be the first amendment to new singular wireless PC LLC at 2290 Platte Road, Homer, Nebraska. This is a tower site that we have leased for some time to Long Lines Wireless. They've since sold their system to this new singular wireless, and with that lease change, they're increasing the capacity of their equipment on this site. So the amendment indicates also the change in the amount of revenue that Starcom will be receiving off this site. That was increased. This has been reviewed by Mr. Woodman with the county attorney's office,
Okay, good.
with their staff, and Starcom would make a recommendation that this amendment be approved.
How much was it and how much is it gonna be?
It was like $1375 a month, and it's being increased. I think it's $2,500 a month. So $900. That was the $900 increase. Yeah.
That's because they've added more equipment to it, or?
It was because they're adding more radio equipment to the tower, which is causing increased wind load, and it required the tower to actually be upgraded. They were responsible for all the upgrades to the tower, which included additional guy wires and changes within the requirements that Sabre Communications put on the request.
I move on the amendment number 1.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
The second lease is actually lease amendment number 2. The same company for the same reason. This tower site is located at 3430 West 23rd Street. This lease actually involves a third party besides this board. It also involves the city of Sioux City because they're on the lease. So once it's been approved here, then it will go in front of Sioux City Council for their approval. And that won't be on their agenda for a couple weeks, but the same amount of lease increase for the same reasons.
Move it.
Second.
There's a second. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Glenn. Okay, item 6, secondary roads.
Morning.
Ben.
Mark's out of town for a couple days, so we have to step in for him today. Our first item, 6A, we need to defer to next week, so we'll not be signing the contract. He's a fairly new company, he's having a little trouble with his bond. He will get it, it just takes a little longer to do a background check for him to get those items. The next item is ask your consider approval of the contract and bond for the HMA routing and sealing on various roads with commercial sweeping.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
6C is consider approval of the contract and bond for the 240th Street Allison Avenue grading project with labor construction.
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
And we'll probably have a pre-construction meeting in the week because construction is scheduled to begin the following week. Item D, consider approval permit to work within the right-of-way for Mid-American Energy, and that's for a power pole off Highway 775 down around 250th Street.
Move it.
Second.
discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
And the final one, 6E, consider resolution to revise our Woodbury County 2015 five-year road program, and that is adding the grading project on 240.
Move it.
Okay, second. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, Ben.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Ben,
Yes,
when's what's the completion date on 240th Street?
it has a 25-day working period. The next start date is the 27th, and it has a 6-day work week. So they're charged Monday through Saturday if they're able to work. So the completion date is based on working days. So they have 25 days. So approximately, if everything goes good, it'll be the end of November if they used all 25 days.
So,
But we expect it to take shorter than that. All the dirt's on site, so it should be a fairly quick project.
is this the CF road?
Yes, yes,
So
The dirt's on site?
yes. Yeah, we designed it so that all the dirt came out of the existing properties and none to be hauled in. It's about 21,000 yards. That was our goal to make it about this
And the
out.
starting date is when, Ben?
The 27th of October.
27th, that's coming up soon.
That'll be next week, yes.
Absolutely. Good.
Good move. That's the difference between getting it done now and getting it done next
And
spring.
it's reflected in the prices that you saw. You know, we weren't sure what to expect on a short period like that, so we were very happy with the numbers.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we have a little time for the sale of property. We have about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. What else do we have here?
Do we want to talk about the film last night
Yeah.
that we went to?
Bring it up.
I know PJ was on the panel, and it was quite powerful. I can honestly say it's the first thing I thought about this morning when I woke up. Even in the middle of the night, it wasn't necessarily, it was on private violence, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. And I thought so many of our community leaders had come together and so many efforts were being made, so I thought that was good. There probably are some missing players that we could bring into the discussion as far as education, mental health services, but it seemed like such a good start and good effort. And to be produced by, I guess, one of our own, Cindy Wade, it was just, it made me proud to be part of this community and to bring light to such, I guess, a terrible thing, really.
Well, it really was. I mean, I was there, my wife too, and the panel, the movie was absolutely one of the best that I've ever seen. Never seen one like that relative to domestic violence. And it was so vivid, ladies and gentlemen, on the tragedies of it. And it's a nationwide problem. It's a situation that is cross-cultural and economic. without bonds. I mean, it happens in every part of our society. But I was also pretty proud of panelists that at the end of it that provided information on where we're at in this community as relative to domestic violence and how we're treating it. Again, as you said, Jackie, our county attorney was on that, plays a very, very important role in prosecuting the, I call them perpetrators, but the violators. And also our sheriff, the police chief, the judges, our local DHS folks was there to talk about their role in it. Council on Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, their role is very, very important. It's one of the only programs, I think, in this community that really targets and also provides the service to over 1,700 women and their children, and keeping those families together and this whole thing. They portray a story of a woman that had been kidnapped out of, was she out of Texas or?
Somewhere
Yeah.
in the southern states.
It was in North Carolina, that's where it was. And she'd been transported across, and these United States. Her husband was a truck driver and had gone to California to deliver a load. He kept her confined and her little daughter in this 18-wheeler the entire time that they were in transport. He brutalized this woman, and she was beat beyond recognition. It was absolutely dramatic. There were people in the audience that was crying. I noticed that. The truck was finally stopped on the way back. The woman was gotten out somewhere in Oklahoma, and she was given medical care. They finally captured this person, the abuser, and prosecuted him under federal law under kidnapping. He received 21 years. But it explained why, ladies and gentlemen, why most women cannot and will not leave the brutal situation that they're in. They do not have the same backup or the network system that us males have. Furthermore, they normally have siblings, and they do not know, what they're going to do, once they do leave, and the security that is necessary for them once they leave that situation. And if the perpetrator is still out there, they're still at risk. As you remember, a couple of weeks ago, the sheriff, we made a presentation on domestic violence here, and Margaret Saunders was here to accept that proclamation. But the sheriff did describe that he's trying to get some legislation passed to have ankle bracelets for those perpetrators, which I think would be very, very powerful in deterring this kind of thing in the state of Iowa. And it should happen, I think, across the United States, because this is a crime, ladies and gentlemen, that is devastating to our society. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening. It really enlightened, I think, this community a lot. And Jackie, I think you're right. I think that we probably can do a little bit more as far as providing education to a broader network of people, particularly our youngsters. We should have had someone there from the education system that we could probably sensitize not only our youngsters to recognize that and let them know what they can do about brutalization of their parents, but also staff members in our educational system, because I think it has to be a total community effort. It was a powerful situation, ladies and gentlemen. We need these services. They're not charity. It's a life-saving programs that we fund here and we're part of, and the whole community is supportive of. So I think I've used up to 5 minutes. Thank you for listening to me. Very emotional about that. Let's move on. It's now 10:15. We have a piece of property for sale. Before we sell the property, we have to have a public hearing on the sale of this property. If there's anyone in the audience that's for or against the sale of this piece of property, Now is the time to be heard. This is not time to bid on it. It's just time for those individuals, if there's anyone that's for or against the sale of this piece of property. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Move it.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The property is now up for sale. It's property parcel 210795, located at 3102 Leach Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience to bid on this piece of property? Please give your name and your address, please, and the amount of your bid.
245, Misty. 3140 Chapman.
Okay, and you're bidding what?
245.
245? Okay. Is there anyone else to bid on this piece of property?
Mr. Chairman, hearing no one, I move the property be sold to Misty Monolix, if I pronounced it right.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. You just bought a piece of property.
Thank you.
All right. You can go out and see this lady standing right in the door. She'll take care of you. You're welcome.
I would move the approval of lifting tax suspension for LY.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Now we reach the part of the agenda of hearing any individual wishing to make a presentation on an item not on the agenda. Anyone to make a presentation? Mr. Jennings.
I will, Mr. Chairman. Well, as the supervisors know, I was asked to provide an opinion as to whether the county was in violation of our code due to a conflict of interest. The particular code that was at issue was 331.342, which details whether there is an employee or, and I'll just read it. An officer or an employee of a county shall not have an interest, direct or indirect, in a contract with the county. If such, that contract is a violation and it is void. So that was the issue that I was asked to look into. We did do that. We spent quite a bit of time looking into that particular issue. And the reason why we did spend quite a bit of time is because I have personal knowledge of the young folks that are benefited by the services of the Sanford Center. I know most of the workers at the Sanford Center, I've known them for a long time, and I've seen the benefits that the Sanford Center has provided to those youngsters and their families, as well as to the community. So I did take time and reviewed this along with other support staff members, as well as the AG's office, consulting with those guys. We came to the conclusion, however, that the agreement that was entered into by Woodbury County with the Sanford Center for the budget year 2015 is void. And we came to that conclusion because there is a conflict of interest with Mr. Boykin, being that he is a board member as well as the director of the Sanford Center. And as such, he does receive an interest, whether that interest be direct or indirect. The law doesn't differentiate between those types of interests. And so what you have before you now is that opinion from my office. And I just urge you to take some time to read that. There's going to have to be some changes made. I also addressed whether or not any claims moving forward submitted by the Sanford Center should be paid by the county. The answer to that is in the negative as well. Because the contract agreement is deemed void, no claim should be paid at this point. And I'm cognizant of the fact that the services that the Sanford Center provides are in arrears. They bill us in arrears, but the law says there's no unjust enrichment there. So it's a bad deal. It's unfortunate, but the state of the law now, right now, guided my decision in this opinion. So that's kind of where we're at now.
PJ,
What do we do about the schools? Do you notify them, or would the board notify them?
That would be up to the board. Now, the board can designate someone, they can designate me to notify the schools if we want to. But that's under the direction of the board.
And without reading this, what we said is because Mr. Boykin is a director there, can they bid on a new contract?
If we go through the RFP or the competitive bidding process, yes, they can. That's a shield designed in our law to protect against that conflict of interest. And it's all about being fair to everyone. So yes, there will be no problem with the 7% of bidding on that. That's an option for the board to go out and develop an RFP along with the prevention commission. Bring it back, it would have to be approved by the board, and then it would just go through the normal bidding process if you choose to do that. The funds are there, they've been budgeted already for this year, so that is an opportunity, but again, that's up to the board.
Will you be coming to our prevention commission tomorrow? I know we, just to bring the board up to date, we have an RFP that we have reviewed and sent on to your office for further review. In light of this opinion, I'm sure we will want to move forward with that. I mean, that'll be a discussion point tomorrow. So if you're available.
That will be a
Yes.
discussion point. Right now, it might be difficult for me to attend that meeting. I'm assuming that meeting is at 10 or 11 o'clock.
11.
Okay. I might not be here. I will try, if at all possible,
Josh.
to be here.
Okay, I don't know where you're at in the review of
Yeah. What we,
submitted to you.
as of this point, because we hadn't rendered our opinion, so the decision for this memo hadn't been finalized, we hadn't looked at the RFP at this point. But if that's something that the board desires of our office to do along with the commission, again, that commission is an extension of the board. So if that's something you guys want us to look into, we'll be happy to do that.
Well, yes, I do. I mean, that's why we, handed it over at our last meeting, I guess. So this is sad. I know that there are 150 students right now that aren't going to receive services. This is not a charity. This is a prevention service that we calculate is between $20 and $50 a day for those services. Once those kids get in, or if they go to our juvenile system, using figures that we've been given, it's over $300 a day. And just to cut any agency, I don't care who it is, off midstream, because we made a procedural error 4 years ago, it's just really too bad. It's just sad.
And there's no way around that
No,
because the billing is after the services have been provided.
correct.
Well, thank you. It couldn't have been easy to
No.
render the
Again,
opinion either.
I tried to address in the memo that by all indicators that we had, Sanderson is doing a wonderful job. And again, I know many of those kids have gone through that program. Had that program been available when I was a youth, I'd have been in that program. But that doesn't negate what the law says. So.
Thank you, BJ. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Board members?
Are there copies of that?
I think that BJ may have an extra copy.
Yes.
Let's move on then, ladies and gentlemen, to the adjourn this meeting, and we'll move on into the Orton Slough Drainage District Trustees meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Move it.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. We'll now open the meeting for the Orton Slough Drainage District and discussion and action on petitions to discontinue the Drainage District project. Mr. Leo Yoakum, you want to step forward? We have your petition, and looks like that you've gotten about 90-some% of landowner signatures on this.
Yeah, 86%.
86. Just a moment before you start, do we have to have a roll call, Mr. Gill, to start the meeting? Okay, go ahead.
All right, we had 2,181 acres in Orton Slough Drainage District. That was taxable as per what I got from Mark. And we basically have about 100% of the people signing. A couple of them just for political purposes, CF Industries, so they didn't want to sign, but they were. A couple other individuals who were not able to get hold of, but they did indicate they would sign those. We have signatures that I've given you for 1,875 acres.
Do we need a motion to receive this petition and put it in our records?
Move it.
Is it second?
Second.
We'll just go on with the discussion.
So at this time, I'm asking for action to discontinue that drainage ditch.
Ben, do you have any?
I think we have a recommendation that even though there are a large number of signatures that's referred to the auditor's office for the documentation that the 50% landowners and 70% parcels are covered under those. That petition.
Okay.
It did get verified, right?
Can you speak to that?
No, I can't.
I'm not aware of that. And that was the information I received from the gentleman who helped with the design service.
You did receive what, Ben, now?
That's the information that I received this morning, talking to the gentleman that helped us design the project.
So these names have been certified?
Know that they should be certified by the auditor's office.
Oh, by the auditor's
That
office?
They represent 50% of the landowners and 70% of the property.
Okay.
Yes. And then at the next meeting, you can also come in as trustees and get the information from the auditor's office that it is true.
That it is
Yes,
certified.
and
All right.
then you can take the action then.
Probably not a bad idea.
No, that's, I thought that would happen.
Yes.
Well, go ahead, Larry.
Well, I've got a question. Do you want this to be discontinued, or do you want further studies on what could be done?
Actually, what we addressed with this when I visited with the landowners, when we talked about the total cost of this project, and they said, this project, every one of them said, we want it discontinued. We would like to have drainage. However, for instance, out of 160 acres, it probably affects anywhere from 12 to 30 acres per individual landowner. So they said, get this discontinued. We want to continue to have the maintenance done. And as I visited with these people, for some reason, we really don't know what maintenance is being done or when it's being done. That was a concern that they had. And I said, I'll bring it up to the board, and maybe we can have a meeting like once a year where the landowners are invited to come in and let's talk about what needs to be done or what has been done, and just be open like that. Not that you've been hiding anything anyway, it's just that
That's a good idea.
work is done 10 miles on this side.
Right,
The people on this side don't know what's being done.
right. Okay.
So they're saying, what are they doing with all the money? I said, believe me, the taxes haven't been that high until just recently when we had to start paying for some of these studies. So that's, I'd say, let that up to the majority of them when we have a meeting, and I'd recommend having a meeting right after the first of the year because it's harvest time right now. Things are wet out there, it's slow. So do it first couple weeks of January, have a meeting where you send a letter out to all the landowners and said, you just say, come on in, and we'll talk about things. This started out with a simple clean out, but the local guy told me it'd be $2,500 to do. That was done back in '09. And it started at the railroad bridge on 75 and D51 and went to the inlet to Randy Breck's ground and Danny Brett's ground. That has not been done yet. But this other deal kind of took its place. I still think we need to look at that particular area because over the 20-some years it's gotten built up, it's got trees in it. And I visited with Mark about it, he said, yeah, it does have some trees in it. But now when the railroad put that big tube in, that really helped, but it still gets stopped on the south side of the tube. So In answer, yes, some things should be done, but not to this extent. It started out, the initial letter from the supervisors or Mark was somewhere between $150 an acre. At the 2,300 acres, it's $2,180, and it's ballooned over $500 an acre, and it's not costing family.
No, and the board has, realized that, I'm sure, all along. And, we want to do what the members of this drainage district want done,
Right.
but we need direction as the trustees as to what to do. So I think you're right, sometime after the first year, to have a meeting, get everybody's ideas or thoughts.
And what I'm commending the supervisors for, they went and made application for grants for the enhancements, for conservation enhancements. And that's something we had to have, but the grants didn't come about.
That's right.
And as a result, that put the price up
Yeah.
twice as high. So,
Absolutely. Okay, good
All right.
discussion, yep. There's a motion to receive this petition. Any more questions? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. And I think we probably should have it back on the agenda, Mr. Yocum, for approval of denial of the Ordnance Loop drainage project next week, once we get the name certified by the auditor's office.
It's actually on this one. So discussion and action on presentation of petition to discontinue the drainage district project.
Yes, it is. But we didn't have the, I don't think we have the name certified.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We just need a motion to postpone action.
Moved,
Pardon?
Do you need a motion to postpone?
moved to postpone to next week.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Anything else relative to the drainage issue discussion? Seeing none, I move that we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay.